crowd.
Haven't seen you in a while. How you doing?
How you doing?
I'm getting old.
Boy, you and me both.
So are you.
Yeah. I will always be older than
Feel a lot of
you.
love in this room,
I'm gonna win the race.
To be fair, we're all getting older.
Oh, yeah.
Someone I'm pretty sure went to school with stopped me on the street the other day. I have no idea who it is still. They were like, Michael. I was like 30 feet away. I was like, hey, you? They were like, yeah, I just moved to Stevenson. It's like, cool. No, still to this
You
day.
still haven't, don't know.
I've been trying to piece it together. I got no idea. And it was one of those, I was like, I would have.
Done
I should
like
have
a
just said
true
that I-
politician.
I was just like, and when shook his hand, and he's like, yeah. I told him my son's 8. He's like, oh, I was 21. He's like, I still don't know who you are. Yeah, probably.
Still
Say hi
building
next time.
cabinets, Dave? Still building cabinets?
I'm deaf, Dave, these days, you know.
Yeah, I know. I got 2 hearing aids.
See, I got mine, but you know, I can't turn them up high enough.
I said, are you still building cabinets?
Well, I am. I'm doing my last house.
Are you
Yeah,
gonna retire?
I'm gonna try real hard.
Attaboy. Good for
You
you.
know, with the way the world's spinning, who knows?
That's right.
It's gotten dangerous out there.
Yes.
Are we waiting for something?
6 o'clock.
Oh, it's not 6 yet. Oh my God, we're so timely.
So did we hear from Paul and said he might not?
Yeah, he was gonna try to make it, but I don't see him on Zoom yet. Ken Woodridge is on Zoom.
Hello, everyone.
I can.
Again.
Right, Dan?
And then we have Johanna taking the minutes. We also have Bernard Vasari and Mary Repar as participants. We're having some technical difficulties with Zoom on that computer, so that's why it's not showing up there. But Scott, are you logging in to Zoom? Okay.
I'd like to call the meeting order at 6 o'clock. Thank you all very much for being here. Going through the roll call, we are missing 2. Annie's called in and Paul may or may not join us. There's your sign in. If you guys could, I would invite you to stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Did anyone want to excuse?
We need to vote to excuse our absences. So entertain a motion.
I would move to excuse our 2 fellow council persons.
A second.
We have a first and a couple of seconds. Any discussion? All there, say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
There have been some changes to the agenda as noted. unless there's any discussion, I would entertain a motion. Oh,
Public comment.
Ruben's there, you're hiding in there. So I'm assuming you're here for the transportation plan?
No, I'm here to complain about my road some more.
That's what I thought.
After, I've complained about it for the last 20 years. I figure I might as well not give up.
All right, so do you have some comment outside of that discussion?
No, just,
Okay.
I'd like to talk about my road.
Well, we have a part in that in the agenda. So we have a part in the agenda for that discussion. So did you have anything else you'd like to bring forward as public comment?
No, so when do I get to discuss that at all?
Well, we have a public hearing in about 4 minutes.
Okay.
Mary Repar. Would like
Go
to
ahead.
talk.
Oh, am I unmuted?
Yep, you're unmuted.
Thank you very much. First, we have a housing problem here in our community, and we need to do something about it. When an individual and children are living in a tent for 2 months and nothing is done except spinning wheels, that's too much. We need to have a very, very deep discussion about what is going on in our community and how we help the people that live in our community actually live here and in safety and security. I think Leanna can brief you all a little bit better on that, and Kirsty McCaskill too. They were at the meeting. This affordable housing is going to become more and more of a problem. And you all are the policymakers and will have to address that at some point. We can't keep making this area a cottage industry for people to come here and spend weekends. People actually live here and have lives here. And if you want a community, you've got to make it a community by having affordable housing. I sent you all, secondly, I sent you all the light pollution stuff. I sent it to Carolyn, the contact information. I think that's something too that would help the health of our community by the way we do our lighting here. And, I hope to see way more stars than I'm seeing these days if we can do something about our light pollution. And I want to invite you all to the plant and seed swap on Saturday from 10 to 2 at the library parking lot. No money is exchanged, just plants and seeds and good company and good conversation. And also, just on a human resilience note, I would also like to invite you all to free movies. They're on Canopy. It's part of our Stevenson Grange community resiliency programs. This year, our theme is human resilience, since we will need way more of it since COVID is not going away. And these films are about mindfulness and about how to build your resilience so you can get through things like this. On June 7th, we will have a conflict resolution workshop with Lori Loringer. And you can sign up for that through the library events. Lori does the conflict mediation. And I think in the times of COVID and restlessness and anger and a lot of other things, probably conflict resolution can't hurt. And Dave, if you're going to retire, the Lions Club needs you. So think about that. Take care. Thank you.
Did you hear what she
I didn't
said?
hear any of that, so I'm deaf.
Mary said, if you're gonna retire, the Lions Club needs you.
Oh, yeah, well, there's a lot of things in need, in need.
Thank you, Mary. I guess now we're at the consent agenda. I would entertain a motion.
I would move to approve consent agenda items A through C.
Second.
First and a second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Public hearing, first public hearing. I'd like to open the public hearing at 6:07. So I'm assuming, Ben, it's your staff report.
It is my staff report. It starts on page 11 of your packet and continues through page 49. This is your second touch of this, so I presented it at the last meeting. The planning commission made one minor change to what was presented before. Otherwise, it's the same thing. So this is one that has been reviewed by the planning commission. They processed through this in order to integrate the shoreline master plan that was recently approved by the Department of Ecology with the current text of the comprehensive plan and with the zoning code to make sure that there aren't any conflicts between those two. Since they were doing a zoning code amendment, they chose to do some periodic review to that by incorporating interpretations that have been made for whether certain uses are allowed or would have been allowed had they been considered when the code was originally adopted. They also did a review of the setbacks for the PR district, bringing them more in line with the reality of what is actually constructed out there. So front setback would reduce if you were to adopt this from 25 feet to 10 feet. There would be some areas where you couldn't build within those 10 feet of streets, and those are where there is a driveway, minimum driveway length. So you need at least 20 feet to park a vehicle, and that 20 feet goes from whatever's going to block the vehicle on the front side, so maybe a garage door on the front of the vehicle side, or the property line, sidewalk, street, curb, a long list of things. So
And it was, excuse me, if it was 10 feet either on the side or on the front.
yeah,
Right.
Yeah, it's already 10 on the side,
yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
So that would
It's already
increase it
been
there if there's a garage door there, or if
Right.
they're intending to park the vehicle, so that's not going to hang over into a sidewalk or on a road. And then it also applies a pedestrian visibility triangle adjacent to any driveway. So those areas would be excluded from that area closer to the streets. Planning Commission held their own public hearing on this. We've conducted a SEPA analysis and published that. And this is the public hearing before the City Council. All these things, all these processes are in place through the state's enabling legislation for the city and requirements for comprehensive plan updates, and then also our own comprehensive plan amendment review process has been completed.
Now, is this the same where instead of having multiple documents referenced in multiple documents that it says it refers back?
So where the periodic review of the zoning code, we used to have, might have excluded it from your staff memo. Yeah, 270 separate use categories. We've steadily reduced those over time by providing better descriptions of them and making the code easier to read and compare across different zones. Examples of use categories within your current code, currently, they are piers and docks, boating facilities, kayaks, different types of boats. And so why we felt the need to identify all those different things in the past, don't know, but we're going to just consolidate all those right now, refer to the shoreline master plan as the regulatory control for that, and take it out of the zoning code altogether.
It's not all the data, all the lines through.
Ben, what is a cable pull system?
I know this much, and that is that there's a motor on shore, and you attach yourself to a line in the sky and a wakeboard on your feet, and that takes you around on the water on your wakeboard. And it's a fixed park, and they
It's like a water park, something or other.
There was somebody who was conceptually considering that for Rock Cove. It wasn't identified. We sent it to the planning commission to review. And
Thank you.
All right, anybody virtually or anybody here have any comments on this plan?
Is this includes, yeah, if I remember right, I've been looking here trying to find it. Talks about trails and that kind of thing too, right?
The SMP does. Yeah.
Like the trail up to 40 foot.
Okay, I'm gonna close the public hearing and then we'll dive in if you guys want. Okay. Any hands?
No hands.
All right. I would like to close the public hearing at 6:14. Additional council staff discussion. Do you have any other questions or comments for Ben before we vote or make a motion? Sorry, I didn't mean to step out of line. I let you.
It's okay. I'm kind of radical anyway, so.
That's what everybody's always saying.
You're the life of every party, aren't you? None? None? All right, I didn't entertain a motion. It's a lengthy one. Get your breathing.
I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance 2022-1182, amending the Stevenson zoning code, SMC Title 17, amending the Stevenson Comprehensive Plan based on the 2022 Shoreline Management Program, clarifying use categories within SMC 17.13.040, aligning the zoning code with the Shoreline Management Program and reconciling PR district setback requirements with existing development as presented with changes as discussed.
Sorry, it's a one or the other.
Oh,
As
as presented.
Or if-
Oh, we didn't do anything.
We
Yeah,
didn't.
I was like,
As
hurry it all.
presented.
Yeah.
As presented.
Second.
All right, we have a first and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Good, right?
Now
That
can you
was,
really mark it as
that's
done?
number 7 on my cheat sheet, potential action. So well done on your action today. All right, public hearing, part B. This will be on the Transportation Improvement Program. Let's like to open the public hearing at 6:14. And staff report.
So this is presented a little bit differently than it has been in years past. This is the initial presentation and we are, and again,
Hang
since
on.
we.
Can you hear Liana?
Can I what?
Can you hear Liana?
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
So since this has been changed, we wanted to go through what the changes are, get feedback, also open it up to a potential second workshop. And then when we come back at the next meeting, we'll have the more formal list included in this, as well as with the documents that you have now. The formal list is just not as legible to understand, as well as it doesn't describe the projects as well. So what we've done is we've taken projects that are currently in process, as well as projects that have been identified through previous comprehensive or transportation improvement programs that have been approved and are in line with some of the water system improvements that we're also doing. So incorporating our comprehensive capital improvement program process in with this to come up with a 6-year plan that is, for the most part, implementable. It has the budget dollars here, and it has anticipated grant funds, and more importantly, total city funds that would be needed to implement this. That is what, and so this is $7 million. In years past, we've had lists that total about $13 million, and it's been a complete comprehensive list of all the street projects that we need to do that are known throughout the city, versus a true this is what we want to do in 6 years. And so that's what we're trying to do, is a plan that's implementable, at least for the next few years, if not for the full
With an
6,
actual date,
with an actual date.
as
Yes.
opposed to a maybe not ranking system.
Right.
These are actual dates.
Correct. We also have other known projects that have been included on tips, but also projects that are an outcome of the recent transportation study. And those are included in the packet as well. I don't know if I included all the pictures. I did. So I included pictures for the roundabouts and for the projects, as well as more or less phase 1. So the roundabouts are a long-term project that, again, as part of the study, it's more of a 20 to 40-year outlook that we would need that as a full requirement. They also talked about stoplights, which is something that WashDOT is moving away from. But again, those are longer term visions, and we want to at least get it on the radar now so that we can start moving the ball forward on those, since it does require not just a lot of funding, but also a lot of WashDOT coordination. So if we start now, in 10 to 20 years, if not sooner, we'll have it.
Well, and then the other thing about roundabouts is, if you want to get funding, you need to have a roundabout plan. So it's right, is that like correct, that you need to be able to say, this is the plan, we've looked at it, we've decided that this is what we want to do. So yeah, I'm getting ahead of my own agenda here. Okay, all right, is that it?
That is it, yes. So Carolyn, did you have anything to add?
No, just more to come, right?
Yeah.
All right.
There are 2 comments that were received that are included in your council packet as well.
It's your turn.
Whoopee!
Have you seen the plan?
No, I haven't seen the.
Your street is on the plan with an actual date,
Oh, it is really?
Yes.
2 years or 3 years from now.
So part of the plan is paving all of the city gravel roads.
I just wanted to say this then, you know, I've been on the plan for the last 25 years. And at times I've been, you know, number 2 or number 3 or number 4, then I'm kicked off, you know, to number 28, you know. And I trade for gravel. I maintain that road myself. I plow myself out. I do have a piece of equipment, so, you know, I plow out. No one's ever come down my road and cleaned up since we had the ice storm years ago. And I'm a frustrated homeowner down there on Lakeview Road. I don't have a gravel road. I have a dirt road. A dirt road. And I live in the city. Got no sidewalk, I got nothing. I got just dirt. I fill my own potholes. And I'd love to be moved up to number 1 because I'm 70 years old. I'll probably be dead by the time, you know, it ever gets done, if it gets done. I'm like that contractor who builds his own house and never gets done. You know, well, my road, it just doesn't get done. And I get told all the time that, you know, hey, sit back, wait, eventually it might happen. So do I believe it?
If there's an actual date associated with your
But do I
street,
believe it? That's the thing. Do I believe it? I've been told over the last 25 years. That's the thing. I would love to believe you. I really would. But I'm tired of counting my chickens before they hatch. I'd appreciate it. I really would. You're the only person, Scott, that ever came and looked at my road. Out of all the city council members that I invited to come and look at my road. You're the only one that ever did. Everybody else just ignored me. And I look up to where, your neighborhood, Dave, up there. And I went up there and I actually measured some of those roads, that were there. You got chipped, I think that you got chipped oiled and chipped about 7 or 8 years ago.
About that, yeah.
about that, and I looked at, I have 5 property owners on a 280-foot road. 5 property owners, and there's property up there 7 years ago when you got chipped up there that has 2 houses on a longer road that got chipped and oiled. And I just sit back and I just go, what is going on? Did I do something? Because that's what I feel like I did something wrong to be, not be taken care of. I do pay my taxes. I'm not late on them. I do pay them. And I'm frustrated. I have a culvert that Gail Collins put in years and years ago when he worked for the city. This crosses the road, and the culvert crosses the road and dumps water into a stream that heads for the Columbia. I haven't seen water come out of that culvert for 5 years. Instead, my yard floods. That's how much respect I get on my road as far as being a citizen of Stevenson. You guys are breaking my heart. And I know it's not you guys because you're all new, but the city council has just run me over so many times. I've been backed over so many times. It's killing me. I'm frustrated.
I hear
Thank you
you.
for listening to me.
Thank you.
Thank
There is
you.
an actual
Thank
date associated with this project now. That is a huge step forward.
That is a huge step forward. But I've been on that list, printed on that list.
Oh, and it's on here.
Lakeview
How long
Road.
you've been on this list?
It goes back 25 years, and I'm on and off. I'm not gonna believe it until it happens.
I'll be there when it happens.
I'll bring out a cold beer for you.
Oh, well, then I'm gonna be there
I'll be there
too.
too.
Ribbon cutting it is.
But,
There are some rules about gifts of public, or gifts of funds to elected officials.
All right, well,
Thank you,
thank
Dave.
you.
Thanks,
you.
David.
And come check out my roads,
Okay. I will.
my dirt path.
I'm gonna check out his culvert too.
All right, thank you.
Okay, bye, Dave.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mary Repar and Johanna Rojas.
We're gonna look through first.
Mary.
Oh, thank you. I wish you would take Delray off your list. It's not going to happen. There's too much neighborhood resistance to it. And the build out in that area will be prohibitively expensive toward putting Delray in. So I'm not even sure why it's on the list anymore. I am not a fan of realigning Columbia Street. I think we need our fire department there where the dentist's place is. And I think you all need to buy that property and use those roads as is. So the fire department can come and go on 14 and First Street and have easy access instead of being on that Rock Creek where they're off the grid, basically. And maybe consider making Russell a one-way south from Vancouver to First Street with diagonal parking on both sides, which might give us additional parking. The line of sight at the bottom of Russell is horrible, especially looking west or east because of the parking there. Sometimes you have to nose out almost to the middle of the street in order to see anybody coming. And really, when we do put landscaping in, we shouldn't put bushes that restrict line of sight. At that intersection 14 and Russell, looking west, you do have a line of sight restriction. So, I'm not quite sure. I love the concepts that you're putting out. I looked at the pretty pictures, but let's be realistic and do some of the things that will help the people who actually live here and and invest in their community, and let's make our lives easier. I'll continue to speak on this issue at a later date. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. And that's 2 comments that I did not ask for. Name and location.
Oh,
Well,
Well, you're slipping up tonight.
I'm in Stevenson.
thank you, Mary. And that was Dave Prosser from Stevenson. Is that what Johanna needed?
I think so.
Any other public comments?
Bernard.
Bernard, sorry.
Oh, there we go. Bernard? Hey, so let me try and catch up on this. If you could introduce yourself and where you live and try and.
Yeah, I live on Cascade Avenue, and I was very surprised to see the proposal regarding the underpass. We're really concerned about it. It would impact significantly, not us, but everybody, businesses, everybody, tourists, all the people using the waterfront. There's a lot of need for emergency situation in case of whatever, the railroad, the tracks, railroad tracks, the gates. There's a number of things. We wrote a full-page letter, and Liana mentioned that there were comments, but didn't explain what they were. So that I don't know if you had a chance to read this letter, as well as the Port of Stevenson letter, which actually had a board meeting, and actually recommend strongly against this proposal. I don't want to spend and use up a lot of your time if you already have read the comments that we provided. So just tell me if you're aware, if you had a chance to read it. I don't want to be redundant, but anyway, it's a very critical issue, and it's really a proposal that comes out of nowhere, because there's been workshops and that didn't discuss this proposal. What the proposal would be, if you're not aware of it in detail, it would prevent vehicles from using the Cascade exit under the underpass for egress or ingress to Cascade Avenue, and would dedicate really this current roadway to only bikes and pedestrians. Well, currently pedestrians and bikers, joggers can use it anyway, and the only problem right now is that it's not being maintained. There's potholes and things like that the city has been aware of for a long time. It's a critical asset for the city of Stevenson, just like Cascade Locks has an underpass. We have an underpass that is very valuable, and please don't eliminate the underpass. We really strongly feel about it. It's a safety issue, it's a practical issue. There's a lot of risk, more and more risk on this side of the railroads than there were before, more trains, more wildfires, etc., etc. We need to have an emergency exit in addition to the Russell, in case Russell is not available. There's just too many people and too many risks to shut down this access to the waterfront. We would like to understand really what the rationale was to put it as part of the plan in the first place. Where is that coming from? Is it who initiated this project, and where is it going? What's the purpose of it? Not to make a trail, there's already a trail. There's actually 2 trails. There's one that comes down to the underpass that was done a few years ago. And that would be, although the map doesn't really show where the trail would be, I've got to assume that it would be on the existing gravel road. The idea of paving would be appreciated because it's full of potholes right now. But please maintain the vehicle access for safety reasons. the Port of Scominia County is really concerned about it too, as well as everybody on this street as well.
You?
If you could answer my questions, where is that coming from and what is the purpose of it, that would be appreciated.
Mayor, a public hearing is not intended to be a dialogue. It's really specifically for comment, but that said, it's up to you to address it.
Well, there's no reason, there's no discussion in the package as to the need for it.
Well, to Ken's point, like this is just for comment. There will be another roundtable discussion that really was just a workshop.
There was a workshop a few weeks ago that didn't even
Last week.
include this project as part of the discussion.
It was included in the council packet as part of that workshop that took place last week. But again, we're open to more workshops.
Well, our time is valuable and we need to get some feedback from the commissioners and from the city as to where they stand regarding and what's the rationale for that project anyway. It impacts our lives tremendously.
We'll make sure that you get a notification, Bernard. And thank you for your time. Any other comments? All right, I'd like to close the public hearing at 6:33. And now, any questions or comments from council?
I do. Actually, that was what I have had up since I got the packet. Like that's the project that has been open on my computer, and I wasn't able to make it to the 6-year plan meeting, but I did read the notes that came back from it. I worked down at the port, and this concerns me. Making this only having one entrance and exit out of there is concerning to me. If there was a reason that we couldn't get up Russell and there was something that happened, it would be a problem.
It wouldn't be a permanent closure.
What do you mean it wouldn't be a permanent closure? I don't know.
A bollard that would be accessible by emergency staff.
Okay. They would have keys and right now driving that road is a nightmare. And what I was told, and whether this is true or not, what I was told, because I worked down the port, what I was told was the reason that the potholes haven't been repaired is because they don't want people using it.
Not true.
I was told that, but I'm just telling you the public view of why that road is not being maintained, because it's not being maintained. We had one point where there was a train that got stopped right there, and it was not moving. It was just stopped in the middle. So I was like, oh, I'll just go the other way. And my car did not deal with that very well. Getting out of there was a safety concern for me. And so right now, that wouldn't have been something where they would have grabbed a key and opened it up. But I would have been sitting there for 20, 30 minutes, which again, maybe not be a big deal unless I really needed to go somewhere, right? Unless there was an emergency that was a personal reason that I needed to get out and I couldn't. So for me, it's a concern. And I'm not a huge fan of making it emergency staff lock and key to get Carter out there.
I agree with that.
And I'll be at the next one of these. I wanted to be at this last one, but I had family stuff, couldn't do it. So I will be at the next discussion about that. That's all.
I have a question about Ash Alley. Why was Ash Alley put on 2023?
Why was it put next year?
Yeah.
There's development that's going to be taking place in the next coming years. And so we wanted to time our improvements with those that take place so that we can maximize the value.
Okay. And Maple Alameda in 24.
Development
Yeah.
that is
same.
proposed to take place.
So getting back to Mr. Prosser, we need to encourage some development so that his street will get bumped up. Is that what you're saying?
I'd like Is it okay if I talk?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Because it feels like some of this is coming from me, and I would like an opportunity to kind of share the the background to it. We have a very old grader. Barely runs, needs an oil change every time we try to turn the thing on. And I wish I would, and I plan to connect with Dave, but it is also a concern of the Public Works Director is that all of our citizens do not have a common level of service when it comes to accessing their properties. Like that just kind of irks me a little bit. So we talked about it, making it a priority to go ahead and make sure everyone has that same level of service, everyone's able to access. And in doing that, we started to evaluate the gravel, the different gravel roads. When we partner with developers, our money goes further and we're able to do more. So these are rough numbers. These are probably, I don't know, they could be 50% more or 50% less, kind of depending on what we're able to do and when we're able to do it. The best time to pave a road is right after infrastructure has gone in underneath the road because it's all torn up already. So that's a big reason to take advantage of development that is not at the city's cost, to take advantage of that, to pave those roads at the same time. Financially, it makes sense to do that. As far as the Kanaka Creek underpass goes, that is our longest length of unpaved road. And it also has geometric issues. So it does not meet our engineering standards for width. It does not meet them for horizontal sight distance. And it does not meet them for a number of other access kind of standpoints. It is current, as it sits currently, a conflict between vehicle and vehicle going under there. It's a conflict between pedestrian vehicle going under there. It's a conflict for emergency vehicles trying to get in and others trying to get out if there truly was an emergency where they needed to access and the train was blocking Russell Avenue. That would not, if that road wasn't already there, we wouldn't allow it to be there from a civil engineering standpoint. I would love to see that road come up to standard. In order to do that, we have to coordinate with the railroad and widen the underpass. We have to coordinate with environmental entities to figure out how to get Kanaka Creek in some sort of fish passage culvert. And that will take time. That will take considerable amounts of money. In order for us to be able to pave it, it's going to see more use. We're going to see more conflicts with vehicle, pedestrian, and potentially emergency. And the reason that road has not been graded is because you cannot grade when it's wet. So if there's water in a pothole, you cannot grade it. So we expect in the next week it will dry up and we'll get the grader running and it will be graded next week. But we've had instances of tractor trailers trying to use that road. They can't get through, they back up, they end in the creek. So there are geometric challenges that are going to be very, very expensive to address as the railroad gets to a point where they're going to need to address that overpass. I see this discussion happening again. But in the meantime, I have concerns about safety in there. But so that's kind of where all that came from initially. I know it's massively inconvenient when a train is stopped across Russell and you have someplace you need to go. You're never going to get there if there's a car coming the other way and you get hit. So that's it. But definitely open to ideas for how to get all the needs met. But that's where all that's coming from.
And so one of the things that council has the purview of doing is budget. And so if this becomes a priority, then we need to address it as such and treat it as a project with priorities. And this is the time to do it. So if this is a priority, then we need to look at the items that are on the list and see what is coming off the list. If this is moving on the list as a priority to bring up to city standards to make all of the travelers safe on the road.
It is extremely, like, I know it's dangerous. I know you can't see the cars coming. You have to go, you can't go
You have
fast
to
anyway.
drive like a normal person. and
Like
pay
you have to,
attention.
like, it's blind corners and we get truck drivers that get GPS tells them to go down there and they get
Mhm.
stuck and then they have to go back and back their way back up the hill. And that's not fun for anybody. But we hear about it a lot because it does. GPS takes them there when they're coming a certain direction for whatever reason. They're like, yeah, pull right here. And they can't get through. So, I mean, there's,
Seen it.
I don't know the answer. I'm not trying to say that I have an answer. I'm just,
Can we
It-
move it down instead of having it so high up on the list? Lower priority, like for later.
Well, no,
Um,
so I guess the action would be to just take it off the list as a pedestrian walkway, if that's what you're talking
So that we
about.
can figure out how we want to move forward with it.
Mm.
I use that road all the time, especially in the summertime. And I see what Bernard's saying.
A lot of local
Mm-hmm.
locals use that road.
Yeah. And I look when I'm going around the corner, so I don't get killed.
And I don't, and all of my experience down with the sheriff's office, I don't remember. I can remember one accident on that road. In
Yeah,
33
I've
years of
seen
law
the
enforcement.
trucks going down there,
Mhm.
and that's interesting to watch, but yeah. I haven't heard of an accident either.
What kind of, just to move to another deal again, Ash Alley. What development's going in there?
So right now, yeah, next to Red Bluff,
Ash Alley is.
They're
Pardon?
expanding Bread Bluff.
Oh, okay.
the empty lot next to Red Bluff.
Mhm.
In the current construction next to the EMS.
Yeah.
Facility.
So there's two developments going in along that alley.
Reuse of the Stevenson Hotel.
And maybe that's not the highest priority one, but taking ownership of our roads, making sure they all meet city standards, whether it's surfacing, whether it's geometry, whether it's width. I mean, I think that's really like kind of a goal of our current public works director, I guess, but
I want to try to help lay this plan into some context too. So Liana described it, but didn't really take enough credit for laying this out as a budgeting plan and a budgeting tool. That's a massive leap forward for you all. And so what this plan has been for a lot of years is something more like the fancy restaurant that walks around with the dessert cart. And so somebody falls in love with a project and they say, put it on the 6-year transportation plan. They don't look at any sort of cost, and there's no relating that project to your actual street budget or the potential grant funds that we require to pay for this. You know, that the bottom line there, the street city funds are only $150,000 a year toward this sort of thing. That's nothing. And so in this change, it's from that cart that people fall in love with to an actual menu that says, this is what it's going to cost you. And so if you want to budget anything toward Kanaka Creek Underpass, I'd recommend that you keep something on the budget, because you're just blowing money grading it 2 times a year, or then we have to go buy a new grader when this one fails. So you're blowing money to keep it in its existing condition, and you need to spend some money to get it up to snuff. Whether this proposal to change it to pedestrian only access is the one that you eventually land on, I think it's important for you to consider how much you're going to spend on that. And then you can have conversations with the property owners to say, yeah, maybe we should have drizzled some raspberries on here. If you want that, that's going to cost you an extra amount. Are you willing to do that through some sort of local improvement district? That level of analysis, that level of review, that level of conversation with your community hasn't been possible in the past, and we're getting there now. And those conversations are difficult, and you're gonna see those where you were never allowed to see those before, or never had the capability to put things in context and make good decisions.
So keep it on here so that we have a budget for it. But when I see 2023, that those numbers in 2023, is that making it a higher priority, like it's coming first? Am I
Yeah.
understanding? Okay.
So this is what, so
can we move
2023,
that back?
yeah, so 2023 is what I'm gonna build our budget off of for next year. And we're applying for grants for all of these for 2023, and those are due by June 1st.
But that doesn't mean we have to start doing anything, right?
As long as there's not a grant tied to it. If we get a grant and then don't move forward with it, that's
Mhm.
not a good thing.
So how
So-
do we keep it
So-
on here, but not do something?
So Kanaka
immediately?
Underpass is on here twice. So
I
the
see
pedestrian,
that,
yeah, so
yeah.
the pedestrian walkway, again, so that's in 2023, that can be pushed out to future years. And Kanaka Underpass, the paving, it's part of that paving gravel roads, and that's pushed out to 2028 right
Okay.
now. Again,
So just the walkway, is that a new walkway then? Or is that
No,
maintaining
that's
the
just-
walkway
that's-
that's already there?
that's closing the road and making it only pedestrian
Oh,
access.
okay, that's.
Be like-
It's not-
Be
that's
like
the one
they
that
take
we
out a
need to do.
railway
Okay,
line
Right.
and make it a bike trail.
Right, right.
yeah,
That's what they're talking about.
That's
Yeah.
the cost of the bollards.
okay.
Right.
Mhm.
And again, I missed my chance to publicly talk about this in that, the 6-year plan meeting, but this is one of those things that I had an opinion on, I just couldn't.
Well, no,
wasn't
no,
gonna
and,
get there.
and the timing of that meeting and everything was just challenging. Just a little bit of context. We're still working on our traffic study. And part of that is because they've lost staff as well, being the key staff that was working on our project. And so I didn't get information until the day before that meeting. So I apologize for the shortness of all of that. So again, open to having more workshops on this. And this isn't, so there are a couple of things on here that we're applying for grants for. This is not one of them. And
Okay.
so again, nothing's set in stone, and that's why we have, granted, public hearings aren't the best forum for it, which is why we're trying to hold a workshop ahead of time. And again, we can hold more workshops to discuss as well.
The format of the public hearing is very rigid,
Yes.
as our attorney pointed out. A
Mhm.
workshop, we all sit around the table. There's no,
Okay.
you saw the
Mhm.
agenda from last
Right.
week's meeting. There wasn't much of one.
Right.
We're gonna talk
Right.
about this. And ready, set, go.
Gotcha.
Are grants the only funding source that we're looking at for these things?
Yes.
Can ARPA funds,
No, not streets.
not streets?
ARPA can do water, it can do sewer, it can do broadband as far as infrastructure goes. But not streets.
And so it could do all of the infrastructure for Ash Alley.
There isn't any that needs to be done by the city. So infrastructure that will be taking place would be the developer connecting to infrastructure. So the developer will be tearing up the road, not the city for infrastructure there. Stormwater will need to be addressed, but again, stormwater isn't an
So
ARPA.
if the developer is going to tear up the road, is the developer going to replace the road, or is the city going to replace?
Well,
the
right
road?
now, it's a dirt road.
Well, I know that.
So they would need to put it back to current condition.
Current condition or the new standard for the road.
Our standards only are triggered during land division. When you construct, our standards aren't triggered. That's,
So if we changed our standards to require people to improve the infrastructure of their frontage upon development, that's a possibility. It also has follow-on impacts for increasing the cost of development. So again, I
Which would
mean,
be
Right,
it's,
a deterrent.
right,
right.
there's a balance, but but again, if that's your goal and if that's what you want, then that's a tool.
To Ben's point, this is the first time that we've actually truly tried to put down a priority.
Right,
All the
right,
previous
yes.
plans, it would very clearly say, even though there is a number, pay no attention to the number, it's no real order. So it has always been very frustrating, and we have
I
seen
got that
Mr.
earlier.
Prosser here several times venting that same frustration. This is the first time there's an actual date proposed for paving this
So-
road.
So as far as like decisions that would need to be made, or at least direction and guidance that would need to be made tonight, one would be on the Lasher to School Street Safe Routes to School project, because that grant is due by the end of the month, and it would be designing in 2023 and construction in 2024. And it's $800,000. If the project is over $800,000, then the city would have to match, but this is 100% grant.
Nice.
So the state is getting a lot of money from the federal government as well through this
Have
infrastructure.
you guys heard the background on that project?
Mm-mm.
So Lasher is one of our known issues as far as a street that is challenging to drive on, stormwater, just condition of the road. It is also one of the roads to one of the low income housing units. So you have an apartment complex with a bunch of people and a bunch of kids having to walk to school with no sidewalks. And so it's not only, so Lasher is one of the problem, is one of the streets, but there are also other routes that they can take to school. And so again, we tend to see Lasher as a problem from one direction. We actually asked them, Ben created a survey for them to look at, giving them, hey, which of these do you take to go to school, or do you use, or does your family use? Or did we miss any? And ask for feedback on those. There was a close tie between Lasher and, did I put the map in here? I don't know if I did.
Michael, can you move?
Lasher and Roselawn.
Yeah, Roselawn,
Because
thank you.
I was like,
Yes.
that's mine, I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
Because I was part of that survey.
Yes,
so-
yes. So, or going up and through Roselawn. And so more people voted for the Lasher project. Again, there's a lot that needs to be addressed for that. That's in essence the one that we're choosing to go with for the Safe Routes to School. And so it would be widening the street, doing sidewalk, as well as improving the stormwater that's in there, ensuring that there's fire turnaround access, if we can get that possible at the top of Lasher, as well as possibly adding a fire hydrant as well as at the top of Lasher. And this will be a combined funding package. So the Safe Routes to School project would fund the sidewalk from, again, the top of Lasher to the elementary school, more or less as far as we can go.
Via Vancouver Avenue
No,
or via Jefferson?
Jefferson.
via Jefferson.
Okay.
Mhm,
Depending on how far the funding takes us.
yes.
And
yes.
so. if
Well,
funding
it might
takes us
not even
down,
get you to the end of Lasher.
it should get us there.
Yeah.
So.
So who owns the property at the end of Elisha that you're talking about being able to put a turnaround in there for emergency equipment?
We haven't gone that far yet. Well, some of it is city right of way already. It's a platted right of way.
Right.
Depending on where you go. So again, we haven't looked at it in detail yet to see how that can work. But it is a goal of the project. But in talking with the fire department, they are able to access everything now as is.
Mhm.
A turnaround would be just a bonus as well. So there's no safety concern as it stands. Because I believe they access from the top versus from the bottom. And there's surprisingly a large amount of right of way on Lasher. It's just not built out. So we'll be able to make those improvements and make it a lot safer for the people that travel on those roads.
Especially them kids.
Yep.
Yeah, there,
Mhm.
there absolutely are a lot of kids that walk up down that street because again, I drive. I don't,
Mhm.
I'm one of the people that doesn't take the street in front of the courthouse because I can't see on Second Street. I can't, my little car and me being a little person, I can't see out. So I go the other way. I never go down, what is the name of that road? Russell. I never go down Russell. Like I won't do it because I can't see unless I watch the windows of Red Bluff. I can't see the cars. So, so I go down and I drive down that Lasher and there are always kids going down that hill. So I'm not opposed to that being a priority at all.
Mhm.
Even though it's not my street, I'm still not against it.
We are, again, so the Safe Routes to School program would fund sidewalks. We're looking at community development block grant funding to fund some of the infrastructure improvements on that road. And we'll look for others as well to make it a comprehensive project.
And a lot of these priorities come back to our capital improvement plan that we have been working on since I've been mayor, is to overlay, put all the different plans on top of each other and make the maximum use of the money at the time. It's always a laughing stock. A city's always embarrassed when they pave a road and then go, oh, we forgot that we need, our water plan says that we need to replace the water line now. Our street plan said that we needed to pave 2 years ago. So that's done. So that's what we're working on here, is to make sure that all of these things are layered on top of each other. So that is why, it's absolutely why those first two projects get priority, because there is some development that we approve of that we need to then take advantage of that opportunity to pave the road. So I wish that I could have told Dave that that the city was ready to do that next year, but we have you on the schedule and it will happen.
One of the super cool things too is that we're working on GIS mapping so we can map all our assets, which means that we will actually be able to get a visual of age of infrastructure on top of age of infrastructure. So we'll be able to make very good informed decisions and be able to share exactly where those decisions come from. This section is red for every single piece of, city infrastructure. That's why we're doing this project. Your project is only, is yellow on 2 of the 3 and green on 2 of the 3. I got to do this one first. Sorry. So I think that I'm looking forward to that very much, because it's hard to have that conversation again and again and again. Why did I get, I can't even imagine what that feels like. I was on the list. Why did I get bumped? And yeah, so.
And we're also encouraging entities that are, provide a great deal of income and jobs to share their vision for the future, so that they say, we plan on doing this. So we go, ooh, let's talk more about that, because it might give us a chance to piggyback on the work that they're already doing. So that will, just those types of discussions will help us formulate our priorities.
How do we maintain all of these gravel roads? Why don't put gravel on them?
With the old grader.
I mean, is there a schedule? How does the city do it?
Not what I'm aware of currently, but part of that digital mapping effort will be able to create maintenance schedules and automated work orders. So we'll be able to set up every catch basin gets cleaned, once a year, twice a year, whatever it's supposed to be. And the ones that are red haven't been cleaned yet, go clean them, switch it to green when you're done. Same thing with the gravel roads or any other landscaping. I mean, any of those like kind of maintenance things. Priorities, right? So we get pretty hung up because we'll end up having a water break and so, okay, shoot, well, I can't weed the corner of, First Street because I got to go fix this water break. And so understanding those competing priorities, I I think will really help that. But developing those schedules will also help us understand the need for more staff if there is one. To make sure that we're able to maintain all the assets that we own. It's a big part of it.
Who pays for the gravel on the roads?
The city does.
Currently, is there any plans to work on any of those gravel roads that are listed here right now?
Yeah, as soon as it dries out, Kanaka. We've done work on H&H recently. And I haven't been up to
And
like.
what I'm getting to, Caroline, is
Yeah.
what would it take if he's talking about he's on a dirt road and this is a city street? What does it take to get gravel put on there and put on there?
I wasn't aware that it was dirt. My understanding was that it was gravel.
Well, I don't
Yeah.
know because I haven't been there.
I haven't
have.
It's
either.
been 70, I was still on council, so it's been at least 6 years since it's been done.
I'm just trying to get my head around this and how we are, we're talking about pumping all this money into all these other roads and getting it paved and everything, and we've got these gravel roads, city streets, and there has been no real plan on keeping them maintained, and so I'm really struggling with that.
So is
Not
Kevin.
today, but I've only been here a couple months.
Yeah,
today.
no, I understand that. I understand that. I'm just,
In the past, we're
Yeah.
talking historically,
Historically.
not
I
in
mean,
your
you're
tenure.
talking about GIS. When I was doing mapping for 911 and we were doing GIS, we came to the city and said, hey, we're doing this. Are you interested in jumping on board and starting, checking out, adding into all of the infrastructure? And at that point, no, they weren't.
Was anybody at this table in that discussion?
No, absolutely not.
I was gonna
I'm just
say,
giving
like,
you
there's
a
a lot
little,
of
I'm
slinging
just giving
going
you a
on
little
here.
perspective on.
And here's the part that baffled me is how did we end up with a gravel road if we have standards? They annexed in with that road.
Yeah.
And it just, there was no design standard that said, sure, you can come in, but that road's not gonna work.
Right.
So that's where we are, the burden that we have, and this is the first council that is going to turn that into an actual agendized
Mhm.
process as opposed to the dessert cart.
Right,
Actual items.
okay.
Accountable.
It is a priority, and I think, I hate to bring it back to the Kanaka Creek underpass, but I just want to impress that the gravel roads will be maintained moving forward. When we maintain that road, it will see more usage, it will see more conflicts. So there is a liability that this council takes if we do not close that road and we maintain it. So that would be kind of my plug for, okay, if you don't want me to put in bollards, I won't, but I'm gonna maintain the road. So understand that there's a risk associated with that.
Well,
And
there
I
needs
just
to be signage then on both ends of the road about trucks and everything else. too.
There is.
Okay.
I think, yeah, there
Big
is currently.
red signs.
Right.
If they still try.
With lights.
They will
No, we
try.
can try this, yeah.
Okay, I think that we have far exceeded
Yes.
the gist of this public hearing. Are we good for today?
Yes.
Why? Consensus to move forward with the Safe Routes to School project,
Grant.
the
Are we doing
Lasher,
that?
Lasher Street.
Well, we're applying for it by June.
Oh, thumbs up, thumbs down.
Right, well, just
No.
consensus.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any objections? More or
No.
less.
no.
I don't know.
Nothing glaring that would prevent them from, you heard about the 800,000 with no match.
Absolutely.
Right.
100%.
Right.
You heard the hard about almost $1 million of free money. You heard that part?
Right.
Yes,
I'm for it.
I read it.
For them kids.
I'm not again it.
The orphaned children gravel roads. Just to confirm, that is a priority to get those paved, right?
As is indicated, it's actually,
Yeah.
Keep those on there, don't
Right.
try to fill in other projects.
And so I guess, so we want another workshop then and not just
Yes.
another public hearing on this? Okay,
that was the other
And so-
consensus of the yes, please.
right. And so are there any dates that do not work for people as I schedule?
Hey,
this
I'm
next
already
workshop?
booked on Memorial Day. You want to go then?
Memorial Day weekend, I'm pretty
Yeah.
booked up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you know that or not.
Well, I mean,
That's something-
I know others will be there from this table, but I don't know how many people from the public will take the weekend.
because they're going camping, barbecues and
Oh,
such.
yeah, where's Maple Alameda?
Should we do another holiday like July
Catholic
4th?
Church Reservoir, the old Catholic Church, school and Hot Springs Alameda, that intersection there.
Okay,
You go up school, just
You got
maybe
that
a
little, like,
house.
three-way stop, funky three-way stop,
Yeah.
and then you go up school, and then there's.
There's a
the road.
house and it looks like a
It looks like-
driveway. That's a road.
One of our roads.
Hot Springs, Alameda, Old Catholic Church, Maple Alameda, Brian Adams. house.
Mhm.
It's just.
okay,
it's a
and so,
sham.
okay, so, sorry, Mayor.
You thought it was.
So
a driveway.
what, huh?
You thought it was a driveway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It goes to a city reservoir and accesses a couple of lots back there as well.
we will.
What dates are you thinking?
I'd like, so not the 7th, because we already have a workshop on the 7th.
Mhm.
But let's see. And then our next council meeting is gonna be the 16th. I mean, I could do the
Monday, Tuesday,
7th? Jody,
I said we can't do the 7th because we already have a workshop then.
but 13th, 14th, 15th?
13th sounds like a planning commission meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, is it? Yeah, I don't have that on my calendar.
It'd be like,
Um,
it's the week, Monday before Thursday, yeah.
Flag Day. 14th. It's a holiday.
We
We
could-
should have a meeting.
Right. I mean, so we could do it on the 14th, and then that gives a couple of days to then turn it around for the council meeting as well.
Okay.
So,
We're at a class. So I won't be there, but
oh, okay,
Well,
that's right.
Sorry, just make.
So
where is it, the 8th, is that?
14th.
we could do the 8th.
That's the best day for me.
Okay.
The 8th of,
Yep, that's
At the
good.
moment,
I'm good with
Okay,
that.
for a long day, Carolyn. Would the 8th work for you?
I hate this.
the 8th
And this is for
June.
The
Back to back.
another workshop.
underpass, workshop for the underpass. Well,
It's
for
seven.
everything, really.
It'd be a workshop for the whole.
For-
not just the underpass.
Yeah, the workshop is for the entire 6-year.
Yeah.
Right, the whole
tip,
thing.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
So.
The 8th works. Just gonna find
Mhm.
somebody to take my kid to his baseball game.
What date works best for you, Carolyn?
Hmm?
What date works best for you?
Oh, it doesn't matter.
They're all messed up.
There,
right?
they are.
Yeah.
It's in there for the 8th, so
In there for the 8th?
done.
Yeah, 8.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's the one that Scott. can do.
And you'll send out a.
I'll do just what I did the last time, but I'll do it a little bit sooner.
Fair enough.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Should we make an like a special effort to
I'll publicize it differently and I'll send it out to the, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. I'll send out specific invites.
Yeah, that would be good.
Wonder if there's anyone, any of the other ones that
Did we stick on the 8th?
target people.
Yeah.
I'll probably do people along the road and businesses that are.
What about for the other projects?
I'll put that as well.
Well, I don't know.
We'll see.
Ash Alley maybe would be, maybe many people. I don't
That was
know.
the last one.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll come up with something.
All right,
Okay.
sewer plan update.
Sewer plant.
Just the plant?
Just
Isn't there
everything
wastewater?
wastewater.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I wrote something on that, so.
Profound
Do we
stuff.
have to do different stuff? We're bringing more fish. Cause the other ones died. Let me go to my memo and I will summarize it.
Did we get a grant for those fish?
That was the goldfish thing.
I
Yeah.
think they're
Okay.
donated.
All the goldfish that all the otters ate.
They're getting bigger ones this time.
Yeah.
Sturgeon.
The street one.
You looking for your memo?
I am, sorry.
Are you in the
66.
packet? Yeah,
60 to
66.
65.
Mhm. All right, operating within limits. We've had some challenges with dewatering of the Rock Creek project, increasing influent limits. But we're working with ecology and they're aware of the conflicting priorities and constraints that the plant is under. We're not having any issue with effluent, so that's really the bigger concern. Let's see. Yeah, we're all in good shape there. Main D continues. It'll probably be done in the middle of June, this project here.
Goody.
Yeah, I bet.
Completely repaved, right?
Paving is the question mark, yeah.
What do you mean? It's a
Oh.
question mark.
No,
Timing.
yeah, timing. It's difficult with small paving projects to get on the schedule sometimes this time of year. It's a contractor coordination thing, and they have time after the middle of June. But I'm saying middle of June, optimistically. We are not paving the entire road. We're just doing a trench patch along where they did the excavation. The paving for that road is next year, I think.
Yeah.
With the storm, when we do the storm. 20, the collection systems down in Rock Creek, they had some challenges with dewatering with all the rain. We're struggling to dewater. They ended up having to stop for a couple days. So we will probably see a change order on that, what it cost them to stop. We got them started again though, and they should be out of that road by next week. So we should stop seeing impacts to Rock Creek next week. Big ones, then they'll need to test and do their laterals. And then they'll move into the county lot area to do the pump station and start working on the outfall, the stormwater outfall. Sounds like we are making headway on our permit, getting our permit for that. Got some kind of cool, we got some consensus NMFS, National Marine Fisheries. In order to issue the permit, they said you got to put some money into something, some sort of form of mitigation. And we said, can we do it locally? And they said yes. So that's great. Wastewater treatment plant design. NTP was last week. Pre-construction conference is on Monday. We'll have a schedule at that point, so we'll know a little bit better what the impacts for that.
I've been a bit of weirdo about a photo, a groundbreaking photo. Yes, there will be a gold shovel, and we're gonna have city council members down there so that we can all pat ourselves on the back.
Oh, great.
You don't
And then
to
we'll
come
have a
with-
ribbon cutting ceremony when it's all done. as
Then we'll
well.
get the luminaries to come down and we can do it.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
But we'll get the schedule next week, so hopefully.
That's all I have on wastewater.
I just wanted to point out the amazing teamwork about the mitigation bank and what kind of came of that
Yeah,
and
fill
where
that
it's
on the
actually
bottom.
going.
Because it's kind of
Yes.
a cool thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, fill in some more. things in
Yes.
there.
So of course, we got the email and we were throwing our hands up about what they were requiring of us. But we wanted it to go locally. And so
Back up to
sorry.
the part about what the permit problem was.
the permit problem was with the outfall and the location where it's at in Rock Creek to do the in-water work in Rock Creek. They wanted us initially to do some additional treatment of the stormwater before it goes into the creek, which there is no option for this project. Had they potentially given us comments a year ago when we first gave it to them, maybe, but not when we're actively in the middle of construction. And so they said, well, okay, since you can't do that, you'll have to put 10% of the cost of the project to some mitigation. And that basically is, since you can't fix this issue right here, maybe you can pay to fix an issue somewhere else. Mitigation bank. And so we threw out a couple of ideas because their first one was just the general Lower Columbia River fish. Yeah.
Restoration.
And we wanted something more local, so we threw out a couple of ideas locally. And then Ben pulled an idea that we had from, was it from the comp plan?
It's from the RIA, Detailed Implementation Plan.
And it's called Healing Scars. And it is basically a bank where the city puts money aside to help people convert from sewers or from septics to the city sewer system.
Aw.
So, and they approved it. So, and the acronym stands
Do it,
for,
come on.
stands for.
Helping encourage adjacent landowners sewer connection and replumbing stipend. Healing Scars.
Yes. So, yeah.
Sounds like I need to hook up
That
with that.
is.
Not to press you.
That's a
I got
no
it.
joke right
Right.
there.
Yeah, yeah.
Man.
You need an acronym.
I watched Ben do it. Hang on a second.
Yeah, yeah.
Ah, there we go. There we go.
So it's great that it's a program that we had a goal of creating, and we're now able to use it and put it in place. And we're actively trying to make it happen as well. So it's great to see all these things coming in. Mhm.
And it is, Christie's got a sewer line in front of her house now, her septic fails, now she has to connect, instead of us just sending the news
Do
that,
I have
yeah,
to
you gotta
remember
connect.
the word?
Right, right.
Yeah, you gotta
Yeah.
connect.
The money's theirs if
Yeah.
you can remember the.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, man.
Healing
I'll have to
Scars.
study for that one.
Password.
Now we can provide some extra to that, we can be part of the solution instead of
That's
just
cool.
creating a problem for the landowner.
Another one because there's septic failing.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Mm.
So I just wanted to highlight.
All right, Leona, interlocal agreement.
So wasn't ready the last time, but this is the interlocal agreement between the city and the Port of Cascade Locks to provide facilities maintenance services. And so this is in the budget, we had budget for a part-time landscaper. And this would allow us to hire someone full-time. And I don't know if anyone's noticed a familiar face downtown recently.
I was gonna say, that was so weird.
Yes. She moved back to the area and said, hey, are you
Somebody
hiring? I
else-
said,
somebody
as
else?
a matter of fact.
Yes.
She said, hey, your landscape is looking shabby.
Right.
Hire.
I know somebody.
Right, right,
Would you hire me back? Let me think about that. Yes.
right, right. So this isn't, this agreement isn't in place yet, so she's still working solely for the city right now. Because I think the port was expecting it to take a little bit longer. So terms have been agreed upon by both parties, and then the hourly rate is the burdened rate, $37.49, which we mentioned last time. And Ken's, but again, both party attorneys have.
And will she be the one that's gonna be doing this then?
Yes, she's the person that we hired to do it. Yes, to hold that
Okay,
position.
so, and looking at this, what does it mean servicing cruise ships?
So they have events that take place on the weekends, and that's part of the help that will be required. As far as servicing the cruise ships, I can get clarification on what that means.
Probably pushing food to the cruise ship and pushing garbage away from the cruise ship.
Yeah, the,
Right.
probably the big trash things that they have pushing away and all that. Yeah.
Hmm.
Like they had a food truck out down here the other day, and it was the cruise ship. All the people came up from it, and all the employees were out in front of it. And I'm sure there's some cleanup and things like that that would have to go on from things like that.
Don't mash up Skamania and
Right.
Cascade.
That would be. for
Well, I'm
us.
saying
But-
it would be
but
we don't do that.
similar.
the idea
Mhm.
is what I'm saying, not necessarily that one,
Mhm.
but
Correct.
Are we making a motion?
Yes.
I would make a motion to approve the interlocal agreement for facilities maintenance services with the Port of Cascade Locks as presented.
Second.
The first and the second, any other discussion? All there, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, Liana, this is a continuation of the discussion last month.
Yes, and so two more submitted, so I think that's 6 out of the 8, and I think there were 2 that we weren't expecting to submit because of the dollar value. So these are the remaining 2. We haven't found any additional ones. And the total back billing for these customers is $4,109.44.
I'd move to approve waiving the back billing in relation to unbilled ADUs for the customers listed in the staff memo for a total amount of $13,285.85.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Second.
It's only 4,000.
It's only
right?
4,000, yeah.
Is that
Is it
13 is what it
13,000?
was last
It was
time?
last time, yeah. No, the 13 was last time.
Okay, that didn't include it.
As amended.
As amended in the actual.
Yes.
color one,
Okay.
it's 4,000.
4,000.
Yeah.
944.
You want to do that again?
Just make the number clear for the record. It was not.
Yeah, so the number is $4,109.44.
Like she
There's
said.
the action
Yes.
variance. Yeah.
I don't think that's. how it goes.
Self-stated.
You can do it.
Okay. Approve the waiving the back billing in relation to incorrectly billed accessory dwelling units for the customers listed above for a total amount of $4,109.44.
Second.
First and second, any further discussion? All there, say aye.
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 All right, Nana?
Okay, I'm sure everyone just was enthralled by this annual financial report. Key things to point out, the budget compliance, I wanted to make sure, which is on page 83. As you see, we're under budget for a bulk of the items. The one that we weren't was for Russell Avenue. That expenditure was because we received additional revenue. So when they closed out the project, they just gave us almost $67,000 more. And so we just then transferred it back out to the street fund because that's what funded any shortage. So it comes in as an expense and there wasn't a budget amendment for that. And let's see what else. We have about $6.6 million in between the bank and other investments. On page 85, our long-term debt, it has increased quite a bit. Oh, sorry, 86. Sorry, thanks. Page 86. There's the added debt includes the loan for the design phase of the wastewater treatment plant project. And then the note states that the $9.9 million loan that we currently have is not included in this. And will be as we start drawing on it. We haven't drawn enough yet to make it significant. And then our other debt is the city water meters. We did close out that project for the water meters, and there was an additional, I believe, $30,000 that we didn't use, and so that drew down the principal. And so we should have a shorter term loan on that project. But it's not reflected in this one yet because that happened this year. So next year that will be reflected in the revised debt schedule. Other pieces. one of the concerns a number of years ago was whether or not everyone's pensions would be funded. And I also wanted to note on page 87 that the city's pension fund is fully funded for the PERS 2-3. So PERS 1, there's a small liability, but everything else, those retirements or pensions are fully funded. So, and then the significant obligation in our notes to the financials include, so we have a $9.9 million loan from Department of Ecology. The current cost of all of the contracts that we have is over $12 million, almost $13 million. So we will be asking for additional funds. I'm still waiting to hear on whether or not that $2.5 million appropriation from the federal government can be spent on this. They're still developing all of their programs and just urge patience. In the meantime, we're still moving forward with the project, and Department of Ecology stated that they will be able to find the funds and will be able to continue to move forward. It just depends on whether it's a loan or a grant. And then again, the rest of the schedules are attached with all of our grants and loans and other risk assessments. And this will be submitted after the council meeting. Are there any questions?
So we still on this smart water, we still owe 278. Is that right? 666. That's what you have.
So
for the
yes.
balance.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then that'll be down by 30, so it'll be like 248-ish.
Explain to me vacation accrual.
So
Is that
when
what it would cost to have somebody cover that position?
no, so we need to show what our entire liability would be at the end of the year if the city went out of business. So if the city went out of business, that's what the sick leave buyout is and the vacation accrual.
Okay. All right.
So vacation accrual is just what's everyone's vacation thing here? Yeah.
Okay.
So
It would be the buyout for that. Okay, got it.
yeah. Mhm.
Okay,
And
thank you.
sick leave follows our policy, so that's why it's smaller. Yeah.
Questions?
Mm-mm.
Ben?
Okay. We are requesting approval of a contract between the city and Department of Ecology for a grant amount of $72,000. The draft of the agreement is in your packet. There are several things that we need to work out some fine details with Ecology with. Those details aren't going to change the dollar amount. And so we are asking for your authority to allow the mayor to sign that agreement. We'll bring back the final document at the next meeting. This is timed to coincide with the end of that last comprehensive plan amendment that we just did, the next phase of the other comprehensive plan amendment that's being considered by the planning commission, and more time for me after the grant writing is done for the safe routes and bike ped project. So we'd move straight into this shoreline access planning grant. We'll have a fun aspirational map of where we want to have shoreline pathways or public parks along shoreline areas. And then we'll make that aspirational map real by having conversations with property owners to say, hey, are you interested in us buying an easement from you or not?
Mhm.
And if it's a get out of here, hell no, then we're going to find a different route, and we're not going to go through that property. We're gonna have a plan that we can implement, that we can present to you for a budget for, so that we can start acquiring these easements in advance of development, so that when those shoreline property owners present their development plan, they're going to point to these agreements between them and the city that are already in place as satisfaction of the public access requirement components of our plan. So it's taking burdens off property owners at the development stage and accepting them.
Which is actually a plus for them,
Mhm.
big plus.
And so we're gonna develop the aspirational plan. We're gonna develop cost estimates for land acquisition and development of trails within those lands. And we're gonna ask you to set aside funds for that.
I want to make a motion that has the entire alphabet in it. I want to make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign ecology grant SEASMPC 2123 STEV PW 00029. Period.
Full stop. First and a second, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Leon?
ARPA.
Opportunity. So that's the main reason why
First
this
off-
is, oh, sorry, yes.
Can you explain what this truck does?
Yeah. We can. It unplugs culverts, very much like what Dave Prosser's shared is an issue for him. Cleans, so it has both suck and jet options. So it can do hydro excavation. So we know there's a leak here, instead of getting a backhoe or monkeying around with the sweeper, this contraption can excavate down, pull the material out, locate a leak, and allow us to fix it. It cleans wet wells, sewer lines, lift station, grease islands. So we get some pretty nasty wastewater treatment plant areas that are challenging to get to. You can do that. Knock it off with the jetter, suck it up with the Vector bit. Let's see.
Take that right up to Dave's house.
Take your.
First up.
Oh yeah.
Not mine.
Not him, Dave.
Oh,
Yes, sir.
yeah, exactly. It was interesting. You said that. I was like, I have an idea. Yeah, so that's kind of catch basins. You know, we were talking about maintenance. One of the things that I think might fall off and that will become more important. Stormwater is becoming a bigger and greater importance to ecology. That we have a plan that we are maintaining our stormwater system. So the cleaning of catch basins can be done with this piece of equipment. The cleaning of sewer lines, we currently contract that service out. Cleaning of storm drains, which we don't currently do. If we do get a plug, we have to call someone in. So that's kind of what this piece of equipment does.
As it turns out, there's one coming up at auction
Yeah.
before next city council meeting.
Opportunity.
Opportunity. It's not.
Yes.
Loudly.
Auction though, right? So
Right.
Right, yeah.
Right.
And all that that means,
And so in our plan for equipment, we have had a Vector truck on there. It's not coming up until another couple of years, but it is a tool that would increase the efficiency of the department and save money. Because we currently, again, contract out for those services. In the budget is about $150,000 is what we've anticipating buying for a used one. Brand new, they're a lot more than that.
350 to 500.
Yeah.
This one apparently is in great shape, comes from the city of Hillsborough. They have a pretty robust turnover, kind of got plenty of money to get equipment.
Isn't that
just
nice?
when it-
Right.
at the end of its life.
at that city.
Right, yeah, yes.
I have watched enough Prices Right to recommend changing the action to $150,001.
Okay. Right.
Price is right now.
Oh,
Someone's gonna bid more.
right,
It was
so
like
we can,
2050.
do yeah.
Oh, right.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's that way.
Come on.
Mhm.
Yeah, I guess if it was approved, I don't know how we would bid on it. That would be a pretty exciting day.
Mhm. Yeah. So,
I might look to be there.
so a couple of
I'd watch
things,
That for sure.
right? Typically they're online and they're not very
Oh,
exciting,
man. I want to hear the guy.
right? This was included on our list of ARPA funding. We don't have, again, so because of the opportunity, we haven't planned for this. So we don't have any financing lined up. We haven't saved up enough for it. And currently in the budget, we only have the $40,000 for a truck, which we actually can't put on order yet anyway, because they just don't have them. So again, if we wanted to get this, the proposal is to use the ARPA funds for it. I wanted to give you a list of the projects that were also identified. You don't have to approve all of the projects and everything tonight, because we were talking about doing a public outreach to try to get input on these projects and how the money is spent.
Well, it was types of projects.
Types of projects,
Whether
yes.
it's economic development
right.
or infrastructure.
Right.
or-
Mhm. So.
But in the meantime,
But in the meantime, opportunity. So I just kind of summarized the project with known costs. There's one that's on here that wasn't there last time, which was the golf carts for cruise ships. That was recommended by the port, or requested by the port. And that would address the recreation aspect of that. So that is possible ARPA funding for that, for the recreation businesses. And so again, total project cost right now is $690,000. Business support projects is $130,000. So even if we spent $150 on this, we could still fully support all of the business projects.
That's good to hear.
What about the school street water line replacement?
So that one we could partially fund with this, and then partially fund with our current with the current water sewer fund. And we need to update that estimate, which will get updated when we do our own water lines this year. So get more accurate estimate.
any questions, or are you ready to venture in,
I did the
wade
open
into
up.
the water?
I'm just concerned of putting out 150,000 out of that ARPA fund for this thing. Well, we can't afford to fix a grader.
Well, that grader isn't worth fixing.
Okay,
We bought the grader very used.
It's circa 1970.
Yeah.
Not gonna need a grader once we pave all the gravel roads and bring them to standard.
I'm concerned how it's going to affect everything else.
What's your concern?
It'll draw money away from anything else.
Yeah.
Golf carts for cruise ships.
Those
Exactly.
are suggested ideas.
Right. Yeah. So why don't the cruise ships have their golf carts?
Don't forget,
Don't-
every kid sends a wish list to Santa. Santa
I
doesn't
understand.
bring
I
those all
understand.
of those
Yeah,
presents
right.
every year.
Yeah.
Believe me,
Yeah.
I've heard it.
I think the port may have gotten golf carts from the city of Cascade Locks for that purpose. So you may be crossing that off your list. That's the latest.
Okay.
And I mean, we've got broadband that we've talked about for.
Here's the problem with, it pains me to say this every single time. I am a huge proponent of broadband, but we haven't had the capability to put together a plan. We would be not spinning our wheels. It would take a while to put the plan together to apply a budget amount to. So yes, it is something that money could be spent on. We are not ready to spend the money on that project yet.
And there's also a concern of effectiveness or how far the money would go. For example, we could throw all this money at the wastewater treatment plant, but
But that amount of money is almost a joke.
yeah.
Right.
When you're talking about a $13 million project.
Mhm.
Right. And
Especially
so
all
if,
the things that we can't do that with smaller, more appreciable amounts that would bang for buck.
Mhm. We haven't bought equipment in 3 years.
Mhm.
Right, this is right. Not the first. There will be more equipment discussions coming.
ARPA was one of those things that the last council pushed off to this council. And we haven't gotten to that. So like, knowing that this is one-time funds and it's $450,000. How, we've been talking about this in the office. How do we help you set a structure for how to spend this money so that you guys feel good about it, so that you can tell the community, yeah, that one-time fund really went to something good. And I don't necessarily know the answer, but I'm hearing you say that you don't, this way it doesn't feel good.
But there'll be money left over to fund those other projects.
So how much money are we saving by purchasing our own truck instead of using other people to do it for us?
Like renting.
Right, so
Well,
that,
not on service, it's not, it's not renting the equipment.
Right,
It's
but,
bringing
oh,
it
to
to-
get a
example, like call
service.
Clark County and say, hey, they stripe the
Bring it
streets,
back here.
you know,
We call it's Pronto Plumbing
or
Yeah, call
a
plumbing.
plumber.
Mhm.
So it's retail prices. It's not.
So if you call one plumber versus another, it can be more. Right.
Oh, it's like on the order of $2,000 to $4,000 when you call them to.
How
to jet a
often are
line
you
for you?
calling them?
I've been here 2 months. We've called them twice.
So for culverts though, like with Prosser's thing?
No, this would have been, one of them was for a sewer line and the other one was for a culvert.
So I think one thing that you'll see more with this is the improved efficiencies. So talking about how you excavate. If you're excavating a line without this, you have to take a little bit more time and a little bit more care. Whereas when you do water excavation, it can go a lot faster.
Mhm.
And you can also then, rather than trying to push through any sort of blockage with the sweeper, which we currently have and use for that, this can go a lot faster. So you get a lot more, it saves time. So your
Which
resources.
ends up being
Mhm.
resources in man hours, in
Right.
budget, in
Time's
every,
money.
right.
That would be hard to quantify.
Quantifying is difficult, yeah.
Right, so we're just, we're buying our
And
own
so-
truck, so we save money.
And so right now,
Now, rather than in the future for cheaper.
right. And so I
in
think the hope is that it's only $100,000.
They said they gave
So-
them a number of 70. They told me they expected to go for 100. So 150 is more than
That's
that.
the $1.
Well, maybe they're being overly positive.
Yeah, they might also,
So if
I mean,
we-
equipment at auction right now is
We approve spending 150, it doesn't have to be 150.
no.
So I like that as well.
Mhm.
And
What do you
if
think,
it
Dave?
goes over 150, we
Just
we
don't.
will just it.
Yeah.
It's just like
Yeah.
watching that eBay just.
Be cool, be cool.
One of the other things that I forgot to mention that it does is that you can locate lines. So the guys were telling me that you could put a tracer wire on the end of the jet and then send it up a line. So you could find
wow.
lines that they're covered in brush and you don't necessarily know where they are.
That's
So
Yeah, it sounds great.
yeah. Kind of an interesting tool.
I'll do a motion to approve spending up to $150,000 for a Vector truck out of ARPA funds, period.
I will second that.
First and second, any further discussion? All in favor, say
I
aye.
hope it goes for less. Aye.
Aye.
Mhm.
Aye. Thank you.
Prosser's gonna be so happy.
Right, he's number one on the list,
Yeah.
right?
Number one on the list. Mhm.
Ken, now that that vote was majority of the council as a whole, can you explain financial decision-making?
That was addressed to me. then?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you need to have a majority of the whole to have a approval of a financial matter. So that qualifies. Had anyone held out, that would not have qualified since it would have just been a majority of those present. But you need a majority of the whole, and you did it.
Here,
Thank you. Fingers crossed.
we did.
All right, there are some informational, thanks, Ken. Informational items in your packet.
One thing I wanted to note, at the last meeting, I put the administratively approved contracts in my staff memo. Going forward, I'll put them under information items, so it's easy for you to find. A lot of this month was just change orders. Good news, though, is the change order for the stormwater that we were talking about came in at $37,000-ish versus what we were afraid of. Yes.
Right.
So great news.
Yay,
Save money.
good job.
I have a question on our professional services contract with the chamber.
Okay.
So we're paying them $9,166 a month for the contract. What does that involve? What are the deliverables on that? Well, I'm trying to
So
figure
there's two contracts that there's multiple deliverables that they have as part of their contract.
What I'm trying to figure out is they're charging us another $1,000 for program management time. And I
That's
would-
related to running the Stevenson Business Association, separate from the chamber. We're working on,
'cause I don't
they're
see-
working on trying to, dissolve the Stevenson Business Association because there's now the Stevenson Downtown Association. And try to kind of figure out, split the duties there in a more reasonable manner.
So if they were to do that, then that $1,000
Would be allocated to different,
something else.
to someone else,
Stevenson Downtown Business Association.
possibly, right?
Right.
Mhm.
Say that again.
So right now, those funds go to the Stevenson Business Association, and they have a contract to run, Gorge Blues and Brews. So that you'll start seeing funds for that coming through. The Christmas in the Gorge are things that they run. They run advertisement for Stevenson specific businesses and manage those events for the Stevenson Business Association. They run the City of Stevenson website, the promotional website. And so that's what services we get for that,
And that's-
outside of them running the chamber, which is the bulk of the money is what that goes to. So there's again, like 3 different line items that you see in the contract. And so that's kind of how it's broken down as far as those 3 go.
Okay.
So the $9,100 is to run the chamber for the county, which brings people here in general. And then the remaining $1,000 is again their time in managing it. And then the $7,500 are specific costs that are reimbursed that they submit receipts to, again, for running that website, and specific ads for Stevenson only, not the county as a whole.
Amazing what you can hide in a contract.
Well, this goes through the Tourism Advisory Committee and is paid for out of those funds. And they review it every year to make sure that the services that they are providing are services that the committee feels are necessary and needed to, again, bring tourists to.
See, there's no breakdown here in regards to that $1,000 flat fee, monthly flat fee, $1,000. There's no breakdown of what that $1,000 does.
Is that part of it, the lease of the building from Umpqua?
No, so that program management time is just a flat rate that they are billing for us for their time management.
Retainer
So-
for their time management.
Right, yeah.
We could probably ask them to give us a breakdown.
He's very forthcoming.
Oh, overhead.
All right, Ben?
Thank you for approving the contract to move forward with the next project, and thank you for adopting that ordinance for the last project. Another last project that we're working on is the comprehensive plan amendment to enshrine the capital improvement planning ideas that we're working on and implementing, and it's leading to these changes. Like you saw with the 6-year transportation plan, it led to the changes that you all saw in the budgeting process for last year, where we're identifying water projects, repairs that we need to do, and you set aside the funds to do these repairs on Vancouver Avenue and going up Loop Road and Ryan Allen, and then you saw the city staff go out and get engineering for that, and you'll see bids for that once the engineering is done. So we are planning for the future and budgeting on a longer term basis in City Hall already. Leona submitted an application to amend the comp plan to enshrine that as an expectation for the future, so that the next city administrator doesn't inherit the mess that she did. The Planning Commission is working through the details of their public release draft on that. That'll just be what we put in front of the public to say, hey, here's the document we're going to have the workshops on. Provide us feedback into that document, and then I anticipate there will be changes based on that public feedback. Scope of those changes can be very easy to say, pull these out, don't do these things. And I hope that that's an approach the Planning Commission will take to say, okay, we're not ready to do that. Just pull this out of what the proposal was, instead of expanding to say, well, what does the community really want now? For me, that exceeds the scope of the application that was submitted, and really should involve some more budgeting consideration from the council before we go that direction. But still working through that. It's in a different phase, working on these grants proposals to WashDOT for the Safe Routes to School program and for the Overlook project. A lot of funding in both of the two programs that we're applying to this year, like multiple years worth of their typical funding amounts. So we hope to put together competitive projects, and we think that we will compete with them. Grants are due at the end of this month, beginning of next month, and we'll get those in place. What's going on up there? Are you going to talk about GIS some more?
Not really, but I was just going to mention that we're coordinating with the PUD and the county and working with Washington Association of Cities GIS Consortium. So yeah, that'll be huge for planning, huge for public works.
That's it. Carolyn came in and looked at all of our binders full of information, and
Our head exploded.
drawers full of information over there.
Never
and
gonna
all the
be up to
information
speed
that's
this
And then the other part is, what's that? You gotta go ask Gordon about that.
So getting that all mapped in one place that's clickable and searchable on a map, instead of remembering that there's a binder on some other shelf. Clearly identified need. And so we're going to bring you all the ins and outs of what a proposal might look like to close the gap on that need.
Well, just also electronic devices in the field. So if someone does a locate, it's different than what they expected, than right there in the field. Technology is cool. Carol?
We talked about construction, we talked about GIS. I think I told you guys new fishes are in the clarifiers for wastewater, water. We kicked off the water line project today. There's a few new portions of line that I think everyone, I assume that the project's been through this group, but it's replacing AC with ductile in areas that we need it. Some of them, there's more. We installed a few new services in the last month. Streets, transportation plan is a big one, as is maintenance. Equipment we talked about, Vector trucks, grader and brush hog. We're working on retiring them both. We can't even get parts for them because they're so old. The auction guide.
Oversized too, right? The grader.
The grader's oversized, yeah. The brush hog, we would love to keep it, but right now it's kind of band-aided together because we can't locate parts to fix it anymore. Part of having a digital mapping system and work order would be as the public works team works on projects, they will be able to account for their time and their resources a little bit better. You know, we're talking about data, like how much time and money do you spend? We'll be able to track that a little bit better as well. Have a better understanding of how much time we spend repairing old equipment, how much time and money we spend repairing old equipment, because I have a hunch it's a fair amount. Did some development permits this week, encouraged people to apply for grading permits. There's a few folks that were unaware, found out because the neighbors called and said, hey, my neighbor's filling in a ravine. And lo and behold, it's our trucks from our projects. So it's called the project managers, stop driving there. And so working through that. The lodge has sent in a few development permits for review as well. Talk about new staff, Susan back on landscaping. The other thing is this week is Public Works Week. Yay. So
I feel like it's every week.
I try to make it every week. But this week, check out our Facebook page. We've done little short get to know your public
Video,
works
yeah.
people videos. So
I'm gonna have to check that out.
yeah, Gordy has a lot of likes.
You're famous now.
Gordy's
It's like, yeah.
famous, but
He was already famous.
yeah, they didn't like it, but I don't know.
That one was well received.
Kind of
I saw a
fun.
lot.
It's going okay. So we continue kind of get the public engaged and understand like what the city does, you know, who we are and what we do. So that's all. Bread and breakfast burritos for them on Wednesday. And ice cream.
Yeah.
Thank you to everyone who filled out the survey for the retreat. 7 out of 9 responses. So pretty good. So she'll be working on Allison Hart, the consultant, will be working on getting those results together and coming up with the plan more or less for the retreat. So brief overview is it'll basically be roughly a SWOT analysis and then coming up with a plan based on that. So kind of have a draft agenda and then we'll supplement it with what she sends me. On that topic though, so we'll be having dinner on Friday night and then lunch on Saturday. I was not planning on providing breakfast. Starts at 9. Is that okay with everyone? Snacks? Okay.
I guess
I'll bring
I'll
snacks.
have
I'm
to
bringing
deal with
snacks.
it.
You know, not
Coffee.
saying you can't bring them. Yeah. Oh yes. You know, I wrote coffee and tea and morning snacks and evening snacks and
Having a
treats.
coffee.
Coffee.
Are we not doing streetery at lunch?
And coffee.
No, that's not gonna be ready by then.
No, okay.
Oh, it's not gonna be ready by
Well, okay, it'll be soft opening. That's when they're gonna be like, here we
Okay.
go. No, so we're not gonna be missing anything.
Okay.
No,
That's
if we
good.
wanted to
Okay.
take a lunch there,
Okay.
that would be one
We
thing.
could skip on our way down there.
But we
Right, okay.
digress and get excited about talking about food.
These will be working working meals. And so I will send out an email with any food preferences or anything like that too. So keep an eye open, otherwise I'll just order for you.
I won't be there for it.
And then
I'll eat Dave's food Friday.
My food?
Right, there you go.
Okay.
Staff will be attending the IACC conference in October at the hotels right now, but no agenda yet. But our focus will be on the fire hall project, kind of as the next big one, and getting that financing package together. Similar to how we did the wastewater project. It may be a little bit more challenging because we don't have a rate structure. And so we'll have to figure that out. And then we'll also see about bringing other partners in the project as well.
Again,
What?
again.
Again.
Never ending.
Yep. I'll be meeting with a consultant to discuss the June 7th workshop on diversity, equity, and inclusion. So that I'll get a flyer on that one. I've been noticing that when I send stuff to the newspaper, it goes into the legal section. People don't really read the legal section, so.
Depends on if there's a
I know the
house
guy.
that's going.
Right.
You know,
Um,
auction.
And then the state is working on an audit of all of the municipal codes in relation to fines and fees in preparation of changing their software, their court software. And so we'll be bringing forward some changes to our code because of that. I haven't translated what it really means yet, but
It's gonna cost us more money, that's what's.
no, it's not that it's going to cost us more. So for example, one of the fines that we have for like a dog at large without a license, you know, we might intend for it to only be like $20 or $200. Well, because of the audit that they did, it'll be $500. So, right. So again, there's some things to go through and to decipher what they mean. And then there's also some fines and fees that, from what I'm reading, like we can't enforce. And so I'm trying to figure it all out and reach out to other cities that may have gone through this process to see what their codes look like and borrow those. But that will be forthcoming. And I know, and the county is working with Adam right now on what they need to go through. So it's still foggy, but to be continued at a future meeting. That's all I have.
All right, I would entertain a motion to approve the vouchers.
I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers as presented.
Second.
First and second, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody have any news or reports for the greater good?
We got a result back on the water test. And it had motor oil, which
Could be from the road.
probably from the road. But a high spike in copper and a really high spike in iron oxide bacteria. So we knew that.
Mhm.
But again, the concern is, what is that iron oxide bacteria feeding on? It's not natural for it to bloom like that, like it's doing. The other question is the wells, and no one seems to know where the wells are at.
Although that they were supposed to be checking every
You mean the
so
caps?
often,
The cap wells.
the cap
yes.
wells that were.
The only one that has been checked is the one that's inside the basement at the lodge. The other wells, well, we're not quite sure where those are at.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna do some more digging on that to try to find out what's going on with that.
Nice.
Because they are not supposed to have capped those and covered them up. They are supposed to leave them under.
Underneath the flowers is where they are. In front,
They are not supposed to be covered up.
I know, I'm just telling you.
And part of ecology would be really interested in knowing that. So anyway, I'm just saying that I'm not completely done with this yet, but a really, really high concentration of iron oxide bacteria.
Expected that.
Yeah. So anyway,
Mhm.
that's where we're at.
Thank you, Dave.
Yes.
Street projects moving right along. The fencing's almost done. The tables are being painted. Liberty's painting the table.
Saw
So,
pictures of some of the tables, they look really good.
yep, it's gonna be awesome. So,
Tried to
yeah,
get one last
Memorial
year.
Day is the soft, it's done. But then the lights and the plants and all of that, then they'll be the big to do.
Big grand opening.
All right, anything that you as a group would like to see on the next agenda? Meeting adjourned, 8:00.
Yeah, everybody.
Okay,
Bye.
thanks, Ken.
Thank you.